After 2 decades, Bud Light's reign as the top-selling beer in America is over. According to reports, Mexican beer Modelo Especial surpassed Bud Light in sales in May, beating its competition with 8.4% of beer sales. Bud Light made up 7.3%.
Bud Light's drop from the top comes after it sparked outrage from conservatives for partnering with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney, a decision the company's marketing VP Alyssa Hirnscheid made in an effort to revamp the brand. Here she is in her own words.
This brand is in decline. It's been in decline for a really long time. And if we do not attract young drinkers to come and drink this brand, there will be no future for Bud Light. So I had this super clear mandate. It's like we need to evolve and elevate this incredibly iconic brand. And what I brought to that was a belief in, okay, what does evolve and elevate mean? It means inclusivity. It means shifting the tone. It means having a campaign that's truly inclusive and feels lighter and brighter and different and appeals to women and to men. And representation is at sort of the heart of evolution. You've got to see people who reflect you in the work. And we had this hangover. I mean, Bud Light had been kind of a brand of fratty, kind of out of touch humor. And it was really important that we had another approach.
Boy, did she get it wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell how deep she is in the pocket of big LGBT with that child's finger-painted rainbow behind her.
Yes, I saw that behind. We get it.
How dare she allow her child to paint rainbows and hang it on the wall in her house?
You know, just keep it away from my beer, lady.
Yeah, look, I think...
I don't care at all.
I don't actually think she got it wrong. I think that it's obviously...
Yeah, obviously she did.
Wait a minute. Let me explain what I mean by that.
All right.
The fact is, every brand does have to figure out how to attract more business. If your brand has a very, very narrow appeal among fratty male consumers, and you want to make an effort to appeal to more people, I think that's reasonable and a good thing to do. The question, I don't think, is whether or not it is wrong to partner. And remember, let's keep the scale of this in mind. There were probably a dozen, 2 dozen, 5 dozen partnerships happening simultaneously. What happened here wasn't organic. It was conservatives choosing to make a movement out of one trans influencer on TikTok drinking a can of beer in a video and deciding that was a war on wokeness. And I think because there is literally a presidential campaign, a major presidential campaign, and a governor of a major state in the United States of America who's chosen to make his singular issue wokeness and grooming and this presumption that being LGBT also makes you a child predator. It was mobilized against Bud Light, and there was a concerted attempt that was very open to make a lesson, to make an example of Bud Light. And that's what happened. So if people want to keep doing that, that's fine. Bud Light is a corporation, and I don't think that any trans people or liberal people are hurting from this. All of the conservatives that own Bud Light are hurting. All the corporatists who are voting for low taxes for billionaires and stuff are hurting from this. So, I don't think it's going to make anybody, dislike trans people more. It will cause brands like Bud Light, though, to continue to just appeal to the same old male, fratty, sports-loving audiences they have in the past, and the rest of us can continue to not drink Bud Light.
You have to recognize that this is a pretty, to my mind, unprecedented example of a successful conservative boycott. These things tend to fall apart or not work out. I didn't even really expect it would. They did inflict some actual serious pain on this brand and the parent company, at least in U.S. terms. Right, there was a little bit of switching from one beer to another beer that was owned by the same company, but now it looks like it actually has hurt the overall company. Look, I think conservatives would say we picked a target and we punished this brand for wading in to a toxic political fight over a cultural issue that the country is very split on and conservatives are very fired up about right now. The message is don't do that or you will be punished for it.
Yeah, I'm looking at Anheuser-Busch's top political contributions over the 2022 cycle. They're overwhelmingly Republican, National Republican Senatorial Committee, National Republican Congressional Committee,
Yeah.
Save Missouri Values.
Junior came to their defense on that, remember? He said, whoa, guys, we can't, let's not get over our skis here. This company gives to Republicans, so we can't, we don't want to punish them and say what you will, but your Matt Walsh type people said, no way, Jose, we are continuing to boycott this.
So if
worked.
Republicans want to hurt other Republicans over a culture issue that's not going to affect any trans people who... Dylan Mulvaney is playing the only trans woman who's ever had a Bud Light. I mean, it's just the whole point of it was outreach.
She didn't even like it, right? That was the point.
Is that true?
Well, in the actual ad, remember, she's like, I guess this, like, she didn't know what the sports event was. Like, she did not come across and say, okay. I think this was a bit of an issue with it. It didn't seem very authentic.
Sure.
It didn't seem like she's a trans woman who also really is passionate about this beer.
Who would be?
Well, sure, but
I mean, the brand is
I think it was
strong.
a bad fit for that reason.
Yeah,
anyway.
The Bud Light brand is very specific and strong. I can't imagine, not that I would boycott Bud Light because it feels conservative or fratty or something, but I just can't imagine that would be my choice when I walk into a bar. If I wanted a cheap beer, culturally, Pabst Blue Ribbon, for instance, branded itself in the early aughts as a cheap hipster working class beer with kind of left valences because you could get it in a bar in Brooklyn with a shot on the side. Things like Corona or some of these kind of Mexican branded beers also have a different sort of vibe than a Bud Light. And so,
what if you tried to get me as your spokesperson for Bud Light? Exactly. I don't know, I've had maybe two of them in my lifetime.
Or me.
Trying to corner the market on the nerd, the 35-year-old nerd demographic or something. I love Bud Light. We love this at my D&D groups.
Right.
It would have been insulting a little bit, and I think that was the problem here.
I think so too. It was a bad branding choice, not because Dylan Mulvaney is trans, but because the brand itself, it does have a problem with being so specific and so entrenched. And to get out of that, I don't think you can just shove a can of beer in the hand of random people who are not your core demographic. It's going to take a little bit more artistry than what they chose to do.
For sure. I'd be happy to endorse your wines, your tequilas. If you want to send samples to my home or to the Rising Studio, we will not drink on set. Obviously, we would never do that.
Also, you need to change the can. The Bud Light graphics are so specific with the identity of it, too. I think part of why Pabst, for instance, and some of the, for a second, it was Dos Equis back in the early aughts. Modelo, some of these brands, they feel... more craft because of the label. That's what Pabst had going for it. It just looked kind of vintagey in a way that was easy to adopt into a kind of hipstery, progressive, urban mindset, even though it was a very historically Midwestern, I mean, they're all Midwestern, but, Midwestern kind of beer. And that big corporate-y blue label with the white letters that looks like a football jersey. It literally looks like a Cowboys branded beer.
Right.
You were never going to get past that. So that's some free branding advice for the Bud Light people.
Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders to drink it. That would have been the winning.
Because women love to do whatever a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader does. I wake up every morning and think, gosh, how am I going to make myself more like a Dallas
It makes the men in their lives happy. How about that?
All right, fair enough.
Let's wrap this now. More Rising soon.